Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome, everyone, to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. Oh, shit. I mean, the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. That's for you, buddy. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to tonight's show. The Deucer is not here with me tonight, so it's just me running the show. Gonna miss him. Not really, so it's okay. He's just a back behind the shoulders looking guy. Anyways, if this is your first time tuning in, thank you. We do a live show Monday through Wednesday, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We were doing it at 8:30. We end up switching our times though to 9. With that, we each week we cover a new state. This week we're in Maryland. Each day we bring on a new guest from that state. If not, sometimes we bring on a different guest somewhere that we can squeeze them in. We get to learn what it's like for them to be successful out in that state and learn what's kind of happening out there, conservation wise, and what's kind of going on with the deer population. So we're learning a lot from the guests out there. And it's nice to hear the rich history coming from that state as well. The one thing, though, I do ask from all the listeners out there, put your quarter in the slot machine. What I mean by that is help share the show. We can't do this without your support. We're trying to bring hunting to a new level. I believe hunting, in a way, at least here in the state of Michigan, it's a dying sport, a dying lifestyle. It's no longer a sought after thing. So we need your help sharing the show, and that's all I ask. But with that being said, thank you again for tuning in. We do have some big news coming along the way. We can't announce that just yet because we're still finalizing some deals, and once that is finalized, we will let you guys know. But one thing though is we are now a pro staff member with Gillipuck. So for all the people going to be listening to this, I'm going to be running like a 15 little second video from Gillipuck. So here we go. And with that being said, though, if you use the code GP10, you get a 10% discount on all at the Gillipuck website. So go ahead and check them out. Awesome products. I love the guy. So go ahead and check them out. With that being said, before I bring on the guest, I have to show this photo because I was out golfing 2 weeks ago in a golf tournament, and my buddy like, hey, look up in this tree. So I looked, and next thing I know, I'm looking at this. So if you're listening to this on the audio version, it's a goose up in a tree and nesting. Never seen that before. So I thought it was really weird. But you know what? It's kind of innovative. So she's taking a smart route trying to hide her nest. But I just had to show it because I thought that was kind of funny. Anyways, it's episode 66. We're in Maryland. So let's give a warm round of applause for our guest tonight, Michael. Hey, brother.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Looking forward to talking some Maryland whitetail.
Oh, man. Everything I've been looking at, Maryland it's like a hidden state. I've seen some bucks coming out of there, and it's just like, man, Maryland people it's like a sleeper state in a way.
Now we can talk about it. I'm not shy about sharing some info. There's definitely some antlers to be had if you go to the right places and you hunt hard and you have a positive mindset. It's a tough state, but the opportunity is here if you look for it.
Yeah. Well, Mike, for anyone that's out there that doesn't know you, can you give a little background about yourself?
Yeah, so name's Mike Athey. I'm 34 years old. I grew up in Central Maryland. I started hunting at a really early age. My dad got me into it. As soon as I could draw legal poundage with my bow, I was bow hunting. We rifle hunted, turkey hunted, just everything outdoors, fishing, all that. I grew up, we spent a lot of time in Western Maryland. We had some family properties out there, so we would travel out there to hunt in the mountains. And then we also would do bow hunting in the suburban areas of the state as well, down where I live. So, very diverse hunting upbringing as far as it comes to whitetails. I've experienced just about everything. And I think that's developed, kind of my style with how I go about it.
Out there in Maryland, it seems like it'd be a tough environment really to tackle whitetail deer out there. For for someone that doesn't know Maryland, and obviously I'm one of them, can you give kind of like a quick little landscape of it? What should people picture before we get into tonight's conversation?
Right. So I'll kind of I'll kind of draw a line by counties, because there's not that many counties in the state. So uh, Carroll County, Frederick County, Allegheny, Washington, Garrett, that's kind of like your Western Maryland. Um, Frederick West, you're going to start getting into, there's some farm country in the beginning, and then as you travel west, you're going to get into hill country. So Garrett and Washington counties, that's your big woods, big timber. There's some farmland in the lower elevations, but it's pretty much big woods timber. So when you think like Panhandle, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, that's what you're experiencing. When you travel east of Frederick, Carroll counties, then you start getting into the suburban hunting. So like your Seek One guys, a lot of knock on door permission where you may only have access to 5-6 acres and there's houses all around. Then we have the Chesapeake Bay. Once you cross the Chesapeake Bay, then you're on the eastern shore. The eastern shore is completely flat. You're at sea level. There's hardly any elevation. It's sandy soil, swamp ground. The timber's shorter. And you're essentially hunting, swamp and ag. So it's a very diverse state when it comes to the landscape. The other thing that's interesting about it is, like where I live in Central Maryland, I can be sitting on the beach drinking a cocktail in 3 hours, or I can be at the highest point in Maryland in about 2.5 hours. So it's not far to go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah. And what are you mainly looking for? Are you a public land or private land type of guy?
I do both. So I have the family farm, which I always have access to. It's 100 acres, so it's not a very big piece. It has a good amount of hunting pressure around it. I can walk the family farm boundary and see tower stands, rifle stands, ladder stands, stuff like that. Around my house, I do have some knock-on-door permission pieces. And as far as public land goes, I stick to mainly around my house. I have access to a very good amount of public land that's bow only. So I try and focus on that because the hunting pressure is less. But yeah, I'm an opportunist. Wherever the deer are, I'm going to be. Like, for example, my family farm, once the crops come down in the late season, there's not much food there and the deer relocate. So I relocate. I'm not tied to that property just because, it's my family piece. Like, if this public's got standing corn, I'm going to hunt there.
That makes sense. I real quick, do you have a lot of public land out there?
So Western Maryland does have a pretty substantial amount of public land. Like you got Savage and Green Ridge, thousands and thousands of acres at your disposal. Access can be a little limited because you are dealing with bluffs and cliff faces and stuff like that. As you get into the suburban areas, you have those bow only pieces like I talked about, and those can range from 50 acres to a 500 acre piece, or it's kind of segmented. It's not like one continuous piece. The Eastern Shore has a good amount of public land as well. The issue that I've ran into with on the Eastern Shore is like on your mapping apps, whether it's Spartan Forge, OnX, Hunt Stand, whatever you want to use, it'll show that public land is being huntable, and when you get there, it's actually leased by hunt clubs through the state. And
Really?
I wish somebody in these mapping apps could show that, because I spend more time driving around trying to determine what I can and can't hunt than I do like actually. I mean, I guess you can call it scouting because I'm trying to figure out my access, but yeah, I've ran into that issue on the Eastern Shore.
That's a bummer. I've never hunted public land only because I've had access to private land. And I'm not saying I wouldn't go do public land, but there's something about it for me that's like, you know what? I gotta take that buck on this land right here. It's like I'm determined to do it. It's like in me. It's like I gotta get one of these. I guess if you want to call it, my first big buck was 2 years ago. That was 140 plus, and I was extremely pumped for it. Now it's like, all right, how can I get a bigger one? And it's just like,
Right.
I want to do it on this piece of land I've been hunting for. This will be my 18th year coming up, and on this piece of land, I went almost 3-4 years sometimes without even seeing a fucking deer. So it's
Right.
like, I want that, and that's just my side of it. And but you did mention bow only areas. Can you touch into that? What exactly does that mean? Besides the obvious, it's you can only hunt with a bow, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so you can only hunt with bow, but you can hunt during any of the weapon seasons. So in Maryland, you can always hunt with a bow during your muzzleloader firearm seasons. So what I find is that the guys that want to hunt public land with their rifles or shotguns, they'll gravitate to those pieces where they can utilize that weapon, and then that frees up those bow only areas for bow hunters. So I'll kind of scout them with the intent of hunting them during those firearm seasons.
Okay.
Because the guys that want to hunt with a rifle, they're going to go to a different property, and then that frees up those bow only properties.
That's smart. And what's your seasons like out there?
So we open extremely early, and a lot of people don't realize this. We actually open, it's always the Friday following Labor Day.
Dang.
So we open, I think last year was like September 9th. It's extremely early. And then I think this year it's going to be around the 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere in that period. I haven't looked at the calendar exactly, but it's always that first Friday after Labor Day is when we open. And then we go all the way until January 31st.
That's a long season.
It's a grind. Yeah. But I'm in the timber opening day of bow season in September, and guys are still, getting their bows tuned on and, figuring out their arrow setups, and I'm already getting after it. So, I know a lot of guys travel to Kentucky for like that, that September trying to get velvet. I've never killed velvet. My old man did. He killed a full velvet. It seems like you'll run into some bucks that have shed during that time period, but you can find velvet for sure.
Is that something you just haven't had the opportunity to shoot one, or is it something that's like, you know what, I really don't want that?
I've seen them. I just haven't seen the caliber in velvet that I've wanted to take. But yeah, I've had velvet bucks under me, feeding on acorns and stuff like that. I'm at a point in, I guess, my hunting career where, I'm trying to shoot something that gets me excited. So, I would definitely shoot one if it got my heart pumping though. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
I just caught this though, that European mount that's over your right shoulder, I'm assuming.
This one?
Oh, your other one. I mean, you left one.
That one?
That one. Is that a Maryland buck?
Yeah, that's the one I killed this season, 2023.
Oh man, that's a giant.
Yeah, he's got short brows. They weren't broke off or anything. I think, just genetics. But I killed him, I think it was November, I want to say it was like mid-teens, but I actually killed him 10 minutes from my house on a permission piece that I had access to, and it was only 12 acres.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, real small piece. The 12-acre block that I have permission on is thick creek bottom, and there's a lot of does there. I saw him on the actually on the neighbor's section feeding on acorns, and then he actually the next day came in to check bedding where I was. But yeah, just a small piece.
Do you hunt a lot of small pieces like that sometimes?
If I can get access, yeah, because I feel like they're overlooked. I feel like everybody gravitates, to the big farms and is trying to get, those 200, 300, 400 acre farms to have access to. But sometimes they're hiding right under your nose, and you just got to get in there, especially if it sets up right. And I knew when I asked permission for that piece, I knew it was going to be good just because of how thick it was. And there was a bunch of timber around it that was real open. And I was like, that's got to be a bedding area.
Yeah. That kind of led to my question of it for kind of this new day and age now. Everyone's kind of wanting to gravitate towards, well, I need a lease or buy 90 plus acres to be successful out there. In reality, you don't need it. And you finding success in 12 acres. So, I mean, you kind of briefed on it right there with thick cover, but on those small pieces that you are looking for, besides that thick stuff, what exactly are you looking for outside of that?
Like here, yeah. So here's another example. Like if I'm driving around and I see a bean field and there's a sliver of timber that maybe, 8, 15 acres, whatever, a small piece that borders that bean field. Well, where are the deer going to feed in September? They're going to feed in the green bean field, right?
Right.
Where are they going to bed? In that small section of timber.
Yeah.
So I really only need access to the timber. And if I can get in there clean, I'm in the game already, because the food source might be on the neighbors, but those deer are going to travel from that food source back to bed. So if, here we have mostly west wind. That's like the predominant wind most of the time. So I can look on my map and be like, all right, well, with the west, I can access, this way. And, if it all lines up, then I'm going to knock on the door. And you know what? If they say no, they say no. Move on to the next one. But you never know if you don't ask.
With you hunting in those areas where the thick cover is at outside of the food, because everyone wants like, well, I gotta go hunt the edge line on the food plot line. If you're sticking in there in the thick wooded area, are you hunting more in the mornings, the afternoons, evenings, or is it kind of just depending on the property that you got access to?
Depends on the property, but I can tell you that I love to hunt mornings. I like getting in there early and catching them coming back to bed. I'll hunt mornings in September. If I can find an oak that's dropping acorns and it's, between major ag and bedding, I'll hunt that. Or if I can find a scrape that has been worked a little bit in September, I'll hunt that as well. That whole stigma of, you can't hunt mornings in October, the early season. I fell into that trap for like a year or two. And then I was actually listening to Cody DeQuesto talk about it. And he's like, well, why can't you hunt mornings? And I was like, you know what? This is stupid. Like, I'm cutting my hunting time in half just trying to hunt evenings. So it all goes back to access, right? Like, if I can get in clean in the morning because deer are feeding, 500 yards away, and I can come in the back door and them not know I'm there, then I'm going to utilize that every day of the week.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I love to morning hunt. The times I have gone out there morning hunting, it's been awesome. But I working in law enforcement for 7 years and working the midnight shift, you get to a
Yeah.
point where it's just like, man, I just want to go back to bed.
Yeah, it's definitely a grind. The other thing about mornings that I like, especially in that early part of the season, is that's the coolest part of the day too. So, yeah, so like last year, I saw more action in September mornings than I did in the evenings. Now, I don't know why that is. Especially on my family farm, it was like every morning I was seeing bucks, I was seeing does until like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, going back to bed. And then, I would kind of move my setup based on where I thought they were bedding, and then I'm hunting the evening, and I might see a couple trickle out, but it was nowhere near as much action as I had in the morning.
Yeah. Out there in Maryland, I kind of feel, because last week we were talking to guests from Maine. Is Maryland kind of similar to Maine with the deep woods? It sounds like the deep woods are on the west side of the state. Is it kind of like the same as Maine? I don't know if you've ever been up there or not, or I'm assuming you kind of know the area though.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been up that far, but yeah, it can get pretty remote. There's definitely areas where you're not going to have cell service. You better download your offline maps. You won't be able to send a text out. It's all kind of situationally dependent. Some properties have more road access than other ones. Just kind of depends, but there's definitely some big timber to be had out there for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's as vast as Maine is, but to me it is. I kind of compare it to PA, like when guys talk about big woods in PA, it's very similar to that.
Okay. You mentioned your hunting season starts the first Friday after Labor Day,
Yeah.
all the way up to the end of January.
Mm-hmm.
With that long of a season, what's your bag limit out there then?
So it depends on the region you're in. So if you're in Region A, which is the western part of the state, I think the dividing line is the middle of Allegheny County. You're allowed to kill one buck. It's essentially a 2-buck limit statewide. I'm going to try and break this down simple because I know it can get confusing, but you have a 2-buck limit statewide. You have to kill each buck in a different weapon season, and then you can buy a bonus stamp. It's a bonus buck stamp, so you can kill up to 3 statewide, 3 bucks. You can only kill 1 antlerless deer per weapon season in Region A, so your total could be up to 6 in Region A. In Region B is where it gets crazy. So you're still on that 3 buck statewide. You can kill 15 does with the bow, 10 with the muzzleloader, and 10 with the rifle. So you can kill 35 does in Region B. You can kill 35 does.
What?
And
That's-
it used to be unlimited with the bow. Kill as many as you want.
So basically, go out there and slaughter the entire doe herd, basically.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is it's not affecting the population.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, it's not, because a lot of the deer are suburban. So my personal viewpoint on it, I haven't talked to anybody like why the bag limits are that, but I think it has a lot to do with traffic collisions, the nuisance issue of them eating, all the shrubbery and being in the cities and the towns and the parks and stuff like that. That's my personal opinion on it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can pretty much. I mean, I don't know of anyone that's tagged out killing 15 does in a season.
I mean, I really want to hear that first person that's done that many deer in one season. I mean, heck, I want to listen to that guy. I'm like, what'd you do? And two, I want to see his freezer at the end of the year.
Yeah, so we do have Hunters Feed the Hungry. Okay. So there are donation places. And then on top of that, they issue crop damage permits as well.
Crop damage permits?
Yeah, so farmers can apply if they can show that they're losing so much crop from deer destruction. The state will issue them tags where they can shoot out of season.
Okay.
Yeah.
It in a way, it sounds like they want to basically eliminate the entire deer herd out there in Maryland.
So that's kind of that's what you would think based on the numbers, but then the state instituted an antler restriction.
Is that a new thing, or?
It's in the past 5 years, I think, where one of your bucks has to have three on one side. So it's kind of a mixed message that they're sending. I wish I had the answer. I mean, I don't. They put out DNR surveys and stuff like that at the end of the season, and I know people that fill them out, and I've filled them out, especially regarding the bear population. But I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping they get taken into account.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they take those surveys and just go, I mean, shit. I remember talking to one of my buddies, and one of the questions was on it was, how many acorns did you see? I was like, what?
What do you want me to count them?
Exactly. Let me take it from a hunting. I'll go every
a shit ton. Like, is that a unit of measurement? I mean, yeah.
This was kind of a recent thing here in Michigan, where in the last couple of years, where you had to register it as soon as you shot it and fill out the survey. I feel like Michigan's kind of finally getting with the times of everyone else. And like I said, that was one of the questions when it kind of first started was, how many acorns did you see? How many leaves did you see? How many squirrels? I don't know. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Some of the questions they ask sometimes, it's like, really? Let's ask the real question here. So the buck, you kind of lost me there about the bucks when you can take them. Like, can you say that one more time? Because it sounds like you can shoot one in archery season and you can shoot another one in gun season, so you can only shoot one in each season.
Yeah, they have to be in separate weapon seasons. So if I kill one with the bow, then I can kill my second one with either the muzzleloader or the rifle / shotgun, depending on where you live at in the state. So, if you buy the bonus buck stamp, you can use that in any weapon season.
But what if I wanted to only hunt with a bow?
This is one of those survey questions. So I said, when they asked that about, the regulations as far as buck harvest, I said, what's it matter if I kill all 3 during bow season or I split them up between weapon seasons? It's still 3 dead bucks.
Right. Okay.
I can't get it. Like, I don't understand what difference it makes. And then I even flipped it as, maybe I'm an archery hunter because I don't feel safe being in the woods during rifle season.
Right.
So why should you limit my harvest capability based on my safety perception?
Right.
I'm not saying I feel like that, but I'm sure there's people out there that hunt public land and don't want to deal with the Orange Army. So why can't they harvest their 2 bucks during bow season only? I don't know.
Okay, so it wasn't just me kind of like in a weird, am I really hearing this correctly? So, I mean,
No.
You make a good point so for instance, me, I don't hunt with a gun. I only hunt with a bow.
Right.
Like I said, I worked in law enforcement for 7 years. I'm not scared of guns or anything like that. Or I wouldn't, if I was going hunting during the gun season, I'm not afraid of that at all. But for people that are so set on, I only want to hunt with a bow, and say they have, I want to say gun phobia, but they don't want anything to do with guns. So you're basically telling them you have to shoot it with a bow, and then you have to buy a bonus tag for your other bow one, but you don't get that third one. You can only do it with a gun.
Right.
How fair is that?
It's not. I mean, I hunted with the bow all last year, and one of the reasons I hunt muzzleloader season and rifle season is so I can have an opportunity to fill that other tag. Because you can always hunt with a lesser weapon during those seasons, which a lesser weapon's a bow. Like, I know some states, if it's muzzleloader season, you have to hunt with a muzzleloader. It's not like that here. You can always hunt with a bow.
Yeah, here in Michigan, if you can always hunt if it's gun season, you can hunt with a bow, and that I just don't.
I don't understand the logic behind it.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, I'm sitting here scratching my head listening. I was like, that's the reason why I asked it again, was because I'm like, am I really hearing this correctly? And it seems almost not fair in a way. Like,
I know. I wrote up a nice long email.
and has that been like basically your entire hunting career, or is that kind of something that's been implemented as of recent?
It's hard to remember when I was growing up. I know we never had a bonus buck stamp for a while. I think it was 1 buck in each weapon season, so you had 3 automatically. And then they knocked it down to 2 and then made the third one essentially optional.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's just.
And then some of the season dates, like in Region A, for firearms, it's buck only for like the first, I think it's 10 days a season. So I don't understand some of the regs when it comes to that, like how they're determining the bag limits and stuff. I mean, I feel like if I buy a license and I'm entitled to a doe, I should be able to shoot that when I want to. Like, I don't see what difference it makes.
That doesn't make any sense either. It sounds like if you're not from Maryland and you're not up to date with everything for a couple years, obviously for me, it sounds like it's a giant cluster.
Yeah, and I've heard that from PA guys too, that I've talked to. They're intimidated by the regs. Is it confusing? Yeah, it can be. Growing up here, I'm used to it, so it's not really that big of an issue. But there's a lot of guys from PA that are jumping the border to get down here. I think the non-resident license, if you buy a license, the bow stamp, and the muzzleloader stamp, you're still under $250 for an out-of-state non-resident over-the-counter license, which is very competitive with other over-the-counter states that I've researched.
Yeah, it seems very affordable.
Absolutely. So, yeah, the PA guys that are jumping the border, I understand it completely.
And I'm assuming,
Plus, you have an opportunity to kill pretty much as many deer as you want.
yeah, if I was from PA and I've got my bucks, I mean, I said I want to go over there and get a buck tag, but it's like, you know what? I'm okay buying these million doe tags just to fill up my freezer for the year. Plus,
Yeah, and we don't, you don't have to, like, I know some states you have to buy your stamps separately or your tags separately. Here, once you buy the license, you get all those tags. The
So
only one you get.
you get your archery tag and your gun tag at the same time.
Yeah, you have to buy those separately. I think for non-resident, they're $25 a piece.
Okay.
And then the non-resident license is $160. So I think you're at like $210, and that allows you to hunt during bow season, muzzleloader season, rifle season, and depending on what area of the state you're in, it gives you all those deer tags, and that also includes your turkey tags.
Oh, really?
Yeah, turkey's not separate. It falls under the same license as your deer license.
So if I have a buck tag, I can use that on a doe on turkey.
Turkey's separate bag limit. You can kill 2 turkeys in a spring season.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty affordable for what you're getting.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, man, if I lived right across the street from Maryland, I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go buy some doe tags out there in Maryland. I'll see you in a week, and next thing you know, I'll be coming back with some meat. So don't worry.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, absolutely.
man. Anyways, now I kind of want to get out there and just fill up my fucking freezer. Just like, all right, I'll be back in a week or two.
Kill them.
For a while. But yeah, it mainly just sounds like they just want to get rid of all their deer, or is it just more of you guys just have a lot of doe population or deer population out there?
Well, there's deer. There's a lot of deer. I think it comes back to the suburban areas. I think they're just trying to manage the population as much as they can, because a lot of the stuff's not huntable. It's not public, so unless you get permission, the deer are just thriving in those suburban settings.
What's the hunters like out there? If that's the case with that many deer, that tag limit, are your hunting numbers declining, or you just never had a lot of hunters to begin with?
Everybody's state's the most pressured state in America, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's hard for me to say. I don't know what the exact number is. I can tell you that there's some public lands that get hit hard, just because I'm looking at the number of trucks on the side of the road.
Yeah.
There's other ones that aren't getting hit as much. I've been to a couple states where I've heard horror stories about their hunting pressure, and I've gotten there and I'm like, this ain't shit. Like, I deal with worse back home. So I don't know. I think it's all kind of, I don't know. I think it's all kind of figuratively, like, my area is the hardest or most pressured. But we also don't have as much public land as some of these states either. So it's more, I think the pressure is just more concentrated, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you got a tight knit area, and you got, let's just say you got 5 acres, and you're trying to, bam, rush everyone into those 5 acres.
Right. And I've knocked on a lot of doors, and I already have somebody hunting it a lot of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Whether it be family members or somebody they know or somebody they work with or they hunt it themselves, I run into that a good bit.
What are you doing when you're going and knocking on doors? Because I've talked to people where it's like, I want to go knock on their doors, but I just get too timid to go do it. How would you tell people to approach that situation?
Have the gift to gab. Yeah, just spark up a conversation. Like for example, the piece I killed him on. I drove by and I actually saw a deer in his front yard. So I was like, okay, there's deer here. And then I turned around, and when I came back, he was out checking the mail. I pulled into the driveway. I introduced myself, and I said, "Hey, I was just driving by and saw you. You know, there was a couple deer in your front yard." And I always approach it from a bow hunter. I feel like people are more responsive to that, especially if they don't know you. Like they don't want some random dude showing up with a rifle. So I always go, hey, I'm looking to bow hunt. I saw you had deer in your front yard. Um, you know, this is a beautiful property. I'd love to have access to it. And then we just started talking. And he's like, yeah, I used to hunt. I don't hunt anymore. I'm too old, and none of my kids hunt. And he's like, have at it. And I was like, sweet, I'll be ready. Yeah. And then I actually didn't have a written permission slip on me, and I went home and printed one out and came right back.
Oh.
And yeah, and then he signed it, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I walk around? And he's like, yeah, go for it. And I was like, are these property lines right? Because I think I pulled up my mapping app, and he's like, oh yeah, that's the line. It's all fenced and you'll be able to see it, and it's painted. And I was like, all right, cool.
Huh.
I mean, it's lucky I caught him on the right day. I mean, what if he was having a bad day? He might have just told me to pound sand.
Yeah.
But you don't know if you don't ask. I've knocked on doors and had the homeowner come out, and I tell them I'm interested in bow hunting, and they're like, nope, that's dangerous. And I'm just like, okay, have a good day. Like, I'm not going to pressure them. One of the things that's talked about a lot is you can always offer to provide a service of some kind. So one of the things that I offered to him was, he was telling me how he had a beach house down on the eastern shore of Maryland. So I offered to come over and check on his place and make sure, everything was all right while he was gone and stuff like that, since I lived close by. He was very appreciative. And then the other thing that I do for him is, right around Christmas, I always send him a Christmas card with a gift card for dinner in it. And I always sign it Mike the Bow Hunter, so they know who it's from. And he's always very gracious of that. Just something real simple that, you appreciate, their generosity to let you on their land.
Right. Yeah, I remember asking one property owner, and it was actually next to the property that I'm allowed to hunt, and I wanted access to more of it. And I remember in high school, I was just going on a run, and on my way back, he was outside getting his mail and kind of doing some yard work. And so I asked him, told him who I was, and we got to talking. And I told him, I'm a bow hunter. I only hunt with a bow. I have access to over there? I just want to have access over on your property, but I'm only want this back half of it. I'm not going to come anywhere here. So next thing I know, him and I, like I said, we're talking, and he said, yeah, I don't hunt anymore. My wife passed. That's the only reason why I hunted, because she loved venison. So he said, when she passed, I just gave up hunting. So I was like, well, thank you for that opportunity. And I haven't talked to him in a while, but he's been kind of, I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, I was very grateful for that. And it's just being able to talk to people, and sometimes you just get the door slammed in your face, and you can't take it as a bad thing. Some people just don't want people on their property.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where I mean, if you only ask for a couple, couple doors and you get a couple no's, I feel like you're almost better off with the quantity of asking, because if you go knock on 100 doors and you get 2 yeses, that's 2 properties, and then you start compounding that. Next thing you know, you might have 4, 5, 6 pieces that you can access, and now you can start to gather that historical data, your observations, and then kind of figure out, all right, well, this piece will be good in early season because of the crop rotation that's nearby, or this piece is going to be really good late season because I got standing corn over here. And then you can kind of get tactical with how you're going to go in there and when's the best time to hunt it.
Yeah. And I've always told people it was learn your area the best. You better know your land inside and out before you start branching out and figure out like the pros and cons of, all right, this is what's on my land and this is what I think the pros of it are, and I think the cons of it are for. Like, for instance, my property. The con is we just have one 40-acre plot that's corn one year and soy the next. So I started looking around. What's a pro about this property? Well, I got a lot of deep cover, so it's a good for bedding area and lots of cover. So then, like I said, I'm starting to learn my property a lot more. Next thing I know, I'm looking around the map. I'm looking now. What's going on around me? Well, everyone's got fucking corn and shit. So it's like, well, my weakness on this property is not that bad thing because I don't necessarily need it. But the one thing I've seen that everything around me, it's just open fields of corn. There's no cover. I mean, you have to go miles before you get another spot for cover. So it's like, that's a big pro on my property is how can I use that to my now advantage? So like I said, just figuring out what's positive about your land and what's the con about it, and you can branch out from there.
Yeah, my family farm's very similar to yours. There's ag fields that surround my family piece as well, and they're always planted in corn or beans. So food's not the problem. It's the cover aspect, and that's where my family piece shines. It has swamp, it has pine thicket, it has CRP, it has a ton of white oaks, it has cherry trees, it has apple trees that produce. So it's kind of a little honey hole because it's surrounded by how much ag's around, and the surrounding area, if you zoom way out of the map, there's no cornfields for miles. So I'm just right in that center of that piece. The only thing that sucks about my family piece is the access sucks. I only have one way in, one way out. So I have to kind of get creative on that front. Whether it be J hooking way around to the backside to get my wind in my face, or using ditches for access, or creeks. I try and be as low impact as I can on it, but I am limited for access, as I'm sure a lot of people are. I've tried going the other route of asking the neighbors if I can access my piece through their piece, and I got a hell no. So it is what it is. Just got to kind of make do sometimes.
Right. With you hunting public land, what type of style are you using? Are you using mobile setup, pre-hung setups? How are you doing on that front?
Everything's mobile. Yeah, everything. So this one here, that's a 1.0 Lone Wolf custom gear. That's what I've been using the past several seasons, because I sit all day a lot during the rut, so I wanted the extra stand space. And then this year, I actually picked up this setup, which is a 0.5. Just light, small, fast, extremely efficient. and I'm running and gunning. There was a time last year I went into a piece. It wasn't very big. It was maybe 75 acres. I had the stand on my back. I walked the whole piece, didn't find the sign I was looking for, and I left. So that's how I kind of attack it. I'm trying to find the hottest, best spot I can find in that piece, and I'll hunt it right then. If the piece looks like shit, then I'll cut my losses and move on.
Yeah. I've never got into the mobile hunting or anything like that, only because private land, so I have everything pre-hung. So what
And I have private. I mean, on my family farm, I have a bunch of pre-hung stands too. I will hunt them, and a lot of times I'll have that mobile setup actually sitting on the base of the tree. So I'll sit up in my pre-hung stand, and if I see all the action 80 yards away and I don't have something over there, I'll climb down, grab my stand at the base of the tree, and I'll move over there.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, and I might do that midday. If it's during the rut and I see all that action at 9 in the morning, and you kind of get that lull period, I'll go over and put that mobile setup up, and I can, it's not really about speed. It's more about how quiet and efficiently you can do it. But if I take my time and I'm quiet, I can have it set up in 15 minutes. I only run 2 sticks with aiders, so I'm getting between 10 and 15 feet. I could probably get a little higher if I really stretched out the sticks. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not gonna sit in a pre-hung stand and all the action be happening, 80 yards away. And yeah, it's cool to see deer, but I'm trying to kill deer, so I'll move over there.
Yeah.
But if the pre-hung stand's hot and everything's within bow range, then my stand will just sit at the base of the tree. Maybe I'll kick some leaves over it or something.
What would be your lethal range with a bow?
40 and in.
40 and in.
Yeah, and 40's got to be like, the most optimal shot selection in the timber. Non-alert deer, weather conditions, it can't be windy. Like, I mean, you're talking, it's got to be optimal for me to take that. I shoot a 3-pin slider sight, and my pins are set 20, 30, 40, and I don't touch that slider when I hunt. Now, when I practice, I might go out to 60, 70 just to challenge myself. But yeah, I'm not one of these guys that's going to be slinging 70 yards at a buck.
Yeah. Yeah, I just bought first off, what type of setup do you got bow-wise?
It's a Matthews V327. I got a CBE Engage hybrid on it, 3-pin slider, and then a Hamsky Trinity. Yeah, I mean, I've had the bow a couple years. I love it. It's small. It's compact. I do run a rear bar on it just for balance because Matthews is front heavy. It's a heavier bow, but it's stable for how short and small it is. It just fits my style. I hunt a lot of thick stuff. So, if I'm in a tight space, I'm not hindered by, a 32, 33-inch axle bow.
Right. Yeah, I just got the face for them. I haven't taken any photos with it yet because honestly, that thing's so sexy looking at my bow. I'm not gonna
lie. I was looking at it, and man, I really want to, but like the V327 doesn't have the bridge lock or any of that. So if I was to jump and ready to drop the credit card on a Phase 4, now I got to buy a bridge lock sight. I got to get bridge lock stabilizers. You might as well take advantage of those upgrades.
Right. Yeah. My wife was like, "Oh, why did it cost so much?" I'm like, because I'm making sure that this is the last bow I buy for a long time. So I'm getting the quote unquote all the bells and whistles with it. So I got a 12-inch front, 10-inch back. I got the low pro quiver, the max integrated rest, and the UV slider. I haven't
Yeah,
set
that's
I haven't set it up to shooting it yet. I got it set up for 20 yards when I first got it, but outside of that, I haven't done anything yet with it because I'm trying to take my time with it.
yeah. You should be set for a long time with that.
Yeah, it's so. I can't wait till I post that because that I'm just gonna
Got to
say
get some blood on it.
Oh, I know. I'm looking forward to that finally. I can't wait till deer season comes around. I'm getting my whole side of my yard, even though my wife doesn't want me to, but she doesn't know exactly what I'm doing yet. So I'm taking one of my targets and setting up on the side of my house, and so I can have a full length of, I think I arranged it was like 75, 80 yards. I can shoot at a long distance. And I mean, shooting out in the field, I wouldn't shoot past 55. That's probably my limit. If it's at 60, I'll consider it only, but the conditions have to be freaking prime. If it's 55 and in for me.
Yeah, once I start really shooting here, once I get my bow back, I'm getting a new string put on it. But um, I'll be comfortable at 60. But I just don't hunt a lot of field edges. I don't like sitting field edges. It bores me.
It
um, yeah, I know I'm probably missing opportunities by not hunting field edges, but it just it's tough mentally for me to sit there and just stare at a open space. I, it's
No, I
just
get it.
me.
I'm just when I'm actually hunting out in the field edge, half the time I'm just like, man, when are these deer gonna get here? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying the hunt, but sometimes you can get a little bored out there. I mean, that's the reality of it sometimes, and I think people don't want to admit that, but you can get a little bored of just seeing nothing. I mean, so I get that completely.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've had some, I guess you can say, bad experiences, or I've been burnt where I'm climbing down after shooting late, and I bust a bunch of deer that are coming into the field late. So I kind of gravitate more to that transition area so I can catch them in shooting late, and then if I need to, I'll let them work past to go to the field, and then I'll sneak out of there just to try and be as low pressure as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times where I've walked out. I mean, granted, before I climb down, I'm looking out there, like making sure I don't see anything or hear anything. I scan for like 10 minutes, and next thing you know, all right, I think we're great. But there's one point of the property, of the field edge, I can't see because goes up a hill and then back down and leads into the pines. Obviously, I can't see that where my stand's at, so it's like I gotta take a risk. Majority of the time, the things I kick back into the woods, I've noticed, is does with their yearlings. But there's been a couple times where I've kicked like a 4-pointer, a 6-pointer buck back in there. But that's the only times where I've kicked those up, and it does suck of just, dang it, I just kicked. Where were you at 15, 20 minutes ago when I could
Yeah.
shoot you? But no, now you gotta wait till the last second and piss me off even more because I didn't see anything. Like a slap in the face almost.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to tolerate that for very, very long, especially if it's repetitive.
Yeah.
If you might get away with it, and then you take 3 or 4 days off, and then you hunt it again. It might be all right, but if you're doing that, 2, 3, 4 days in a row, I think that's where guys are running into issues because now you're educating.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I've noticed, because I noticed I was doing it more and more, I think it was just me kind of being not, I guess, and just use the word lazy, because that was my only way in and out of that field. I couldn't get, if I had to get in another way, I would basically going through bedding area where they're at or going straight to the corn. And I don't want to do that. That's my only way to get in and out of this spot. So I think one thing that I've learned, though, I think someone else can, if you only have one point in and out, try and figure out a different. So if you got to go east, how can you take a different path and maybe go a little bit back, go back 50 yards to go east again? So how can you make that instead of just taking that straight same trail back and forth every time?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely get creative on that access, even if it means taking the long way. I, the path of least resistance isn't always the best when it comes to hunter access.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, deer are like humans. Sometimes they can get kind of lazy. So, yeah. But Michael, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. Was there any stories or topics that you didn't get to share or that we didn't get to cover tonight before I let you go for the night?
I guess the only thing I want to say to the people that are listening is don't get discouraged if you mess up. Stay positive. Stay in it mentally. Stay locked in. I like to say my hunting style is extremely aggressive, and I get burnt where I kick deer out of their beds. I kick bucks out of their beds. It's not the end of the world. You got to remember that, deer are getting bumped around by predators, other hunters. Just stay positive and don't think like your hunt's over if you do something wrong. And then when you go to bed at night and you wake up the next morning to get back after it, it's a new day. So go at it with a clean mind and hunt hard and be the ultimate predator in there.
Right. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times growing up at a young age and hunting where it seemed like anything that could go wrong went wrong. And I just mentally was like, man, I suck at hunting and I just want to give up this and this and that. And it took me a while to just kind of be like, use this. How can you use this quote unquote downfall as a momentum moving forward? And just like you said, have that mental strength and believe in what you're doing, because it'll eventually come around to where you're doing stuff right. But you got to stay positive and keep that mental strength of just keep following the grind, keep following the process, and trust that what you're doing is correct. Maybe you might be doing something wrong. Maybe you can reevaluate it, but just keep sticking with it. And eventually it will stick. It'll come around.
Yeah. Learn from it. Use it as a learning experience.
Yeah. And anything you do out there is a learning experience. Heck, I remember one time I'd shot at a deer and it went into a tree. And that's when I was like, take this bow, I'm going to throw it all the way over there. But that's just bow hunting and hunting in general. It comes with its ups and downs, and take the lows and how you can turn those into positives.
Absolutely.
Well, Michael, I just want to say thank you again for coming on the show. It really means a lot. I know you're a busy guy. So with that being said, again, thank you again. And I'll let you go on for the rest of your night, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a joy, and hopefully we can do it again.
If there's anyone that wants to reach out to you, how can they find you?
So the only thing I'm on is Instagram. It's Michael_Athey. I post stories throughout the season. I'm very consistent with that. I usually do like a morning briefing of kind of what my plan is and where I'm at. Usually like a midday update and then an evening update. I also post gear modification stuff, scouting stuff, but I'm fairly consistent on it. It'll die out a little bit during this time of year, but yeah, Instagram, that's the best place. DM me if you have any questions or want to chat whitetails. I'm open to. I'll respond to everything. If you're interested in hunting the state of Maryland, I can definitely point you in the right direction for that, to give you some resources. Yeah, Instagram.
Well, I'm definitely going to be hitting you up as soon as I go out to Maryland. I feel like I want to hunt every state now that we're covering. I just want to I got to hunt that state now just to say I hunted it.
Yeah, I'm starting to expand as well, but I'm heading west.
Where are you gonna go out there?
So I've hunted Ohio. I've done that a couple years. Last year I went to Indiana. I'm gonna go to Indiana again this year. I have a bone to pick with that state. I got very close to killing a very good buck, so I want to go back there. I kind of have like unfinished business there. I think next year will probably be Illinois, or I think it's probably going to be Illinois next year. And then I am gathering points for Iowa. So I'm slowly heading that way. Kansas will be on the list too, but we'll see, how that falls.
Yeah. Well, good luck out there, and I hope you get your bones settled out there in Indiana, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Mike. I'll talk to you later, brother.
All right.
See ya. Oh, man. Great guy. And I don't want to take too much on the outro, but he's 100% right. Hunting can have its ups and downs, and you have to learn from them. Hunting is not an easy thing, and I think that's why a lot of people don't want to get into hunting. Is because it's a hard thing to do. But new day and age of media, it can seem like it's an easy thing, and people are out there shooting deer left and right. In reality, that's not the case. It takes a lot of hard work and preparation and sweat through the off season, and even in the hunting season, you can just have a bad day, and it just seems like a bad day compounds onto another one, and it just seems like you can't do anything right. So don't get discouraged, stay positive, and just figure out, is there something I'm possibly doing wrong? And how can you learn from it? How can you turn those negatives into positives? But with that being said, again, I do thank everyone for listening, being fans of the show. We do, like I said, we have a lot of things coming up. We can't announce them just yet. But one thing is, though, we are a pro staff member with Ghillie Puck. So if you do want to go ahead and check out their website, you can use promo code GP10, GP10. You get 10% discount on their stuff. So go ahead and check them out. Go ahead and put your quarter in the slot machine. Help us share the show. Can't do it without your support. Thank you for everyone out there that is supporting the show. It really means a lot to us. Like I said, we have some stuff coming up. We are this close, like really close to finally telling everyone what exactly we've been working on. And we're excited for it, and we're looking forward to it. But again, thank you again, everyone. And with that being said, let's go ahead and close out the night. We'll see you guys tomorrow for episode 67 with Edgar Martin.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.